Next cocktail we're going to do is called a Smoking TommyGun. What's a Tommy gun?
Tony Montana.
Yeah. Say hello to my little friend. That's not actually a Tommy gun, is it? I think
No, it's not. Tommy gun is one that just he bolts it around, right? It's a bolt around mag.
It's the one we think of when we think of Prohibition, and it's got that round circular magazine that's on the front, and it's like, "Hey, you dirty animal, stinking." We think of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. They had a Tommy gun. They lined them up all against the brick wall and went, okay. And the mobsters back in the day, people were competing to sell whiskey, just like drug dealers, today dealing with different, if somebody's muscling in your territory, it was not uncommon. Hey, you send the boys down to rough them up. You kick in the door and say, hey, and you take them all out, Drive-by shootings, all that kind of stuff. The same stuff we see happening today with the drug world is happening back then with alcohol because it was illegal. So, all right, let's do a next cocktail. Herradura is 100% agave tequila. This is a Blanco tequila made in the lowlands of Jalisco. What makes the lowlands different?
Different rock, different foundation. It's a lot more, volcanic ash type stuff.
Volcanic ash. More, you guys are paying attention.
The highlands got copper and iron. Red rock. Yeah, red rock.
You guys make me proud. I'm crying. So that's awesome. That's great. Yes. And we're also using a mezcal. Now mezcal is using wood burning charcoal briquettes. It's smoky. This particular one is called Dos Hombres, meaning two brothers. Do you know who the two brothers are?
Breaking Bad people.
This is Aaron, what's his name?
Paul
and Bryan Cranston. Those guys went, Aaron Paul is a huge mezcal fan, and Bryan Cranston likes mezcal, but Aaron Paul said, man, let's make a great mezcal together. And he's like, okay. And they actually went down, and Aaron Paul's like, oh, this is awesome, try that. And Bryan Cranston's like, yuck. And he's like going, okay, well, how about this one? And Bryan Cranston's like, no. And he's like, well, you pick one. He's like, you know what, this is pretty good. And Aaron Paul's like, are you out of your mind? And so they quibbled, and they finally found this little guy in the middle of Oaxaca who was like over this river. You had to cross over a railroad track, like over a little highway. They had to go down in some scrub, and they finally found where this guy had his pot still on his property. It was like in the middle of nowhere. And this guy, he made this mezcal, and the guy was like, I like that. And they looked at Bryan, and Bryan's like, I like that. And they were like, we like this. And so they decided to bottle it and sell it. And this is from the guys from Breaking Bad. Have y'all seen Breaking Bad? Oh, man. I got to catch up on Better Call Saul. I think I haven't seen that. Spinoff's good, yeah, okay. All right. Anyway, mezcal tends to be kind of smoky. So after you fired the Tommy gun and you've killed all your enemies, you hold up your Tommy gun like this, and you see the smoke coming out of the top of the gun from all the. So the Smoking Tommy gun. All right, let's build it. Tell me what to put in here. What's the first thing? Agave nectar. 1 ounce. Okay. This is agave syrup, which means it's agave nectar where they added water, but I think it'll be fine. We can always adjust it later. This is Monin. All right, what's next?
So now would you add the egg white?
I can. Is there any other mixers? 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. Okay. Is this lime?
Yes. The second one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. And eggs. All right, now I want to discuss our egg white protocol. You guys ever do egg whites in cocktails here?
Yes.
All right, so here's the deal about egg whites. Your guests don't freak out about them then, so everyone's cool with it. No,
Amaretto sours are kind of different in Mississippi. You never know. They want Applebee's one or they want an original.
Here's the deal. People get a little freaked out about egg whites. We've been using egg whites in cocktails since the 1800s. They're delicious. Egg whites are fine. People are worried about getting salmonella. They're worried about getting foodborne illness. So I'm going to teach you how to avoid that. But we all have to be on the same page, because if even one of you is having a bad day, or you're just not paying attention, or you cut a corner, you can get somebody sick. So please pay attention, which is this. First thing I do, I grab an egg, or you could take a bunch of them at the beginning of the shift. It's even easier if you just do it at the beginning. and I just rotate it really quickly to look for any hairline cracks. It only takes a fraction of a second. I'm actually looking at as I'm picking it up. I'm going, nope, no hairline cracks, done. And then I rinse it off. Now, you can rinse it off in real time, or you can rinse them off at the beginning of the day and have them all in a basket ready to go, so you're ready to use them. So as long as your mise en place is set up, then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. Because all of the bacilla, the spirilla, the staphylococci, the salmonella, the E. coli, all of those nasty beasties that are going to get us sick, they're all found on the shell from the chicken poop, not on the inside of the egg. And as long as there's no hairline cracks, the inside isn't contaminated. Okay? Easy. There's one more rule to our egg white protocol, and then we're good. So now I know I've got clean eggs here. Now I want to separate it. Now a lot of bartenders, a lot of chefs, they'll do this. They'll crack it right down the middle and then do this thing back and forth. I'm going to teach you a little trick. This is a bartender who taught me how to do this. He was a bartender, not a mixologist, and he was cutting a corner being lazy, but it was such a clever and brilliant way of doing it. I've been doing it ever since, and I think it's fun. You use the edge of your tin as a knife, and you use the very tip of the egg at the top, and you just go right along the edge and you crack the top. Oops. Well, look at that. Poured out the egg white, and then what you do is you just twist it, and it slips right out. So I got a whole egg white in there, and I didn't get anything on my hands. But even though I have nothing on my hands, I'm immediately, every single time, rule number 3 for our egg white protocol, immediately wash my hands. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time. I just have to come over and do this and just rinse my hands off. And it's about visuals. Even though I didn't get anything on my hands, the guests are watching and they say, oh my gosh, is he egg whites and foodborne illness? And it's a visual thing, so we need to make sure the guests feel comfortable that we're taking every precaution to make sure that they're safe. So just take a quick second to wash your hands and then fine. You're not going to stick your nose in there because the guest is like, what are you doing? But just kind of, from here, if it's a bad egg, and in 20 years, I've never gotten a bad egg, but sometimes you get a bad egg, and if it smells like sulfur, you'll smell it from here. It'll smell like stank, right? It'll smell like rotten eggs. If you have a bad egg and you smell it, immediately dump it out, rinse out your tin thoroughly, and then get another egg. It's never happened to me because I always use my egg white protocol. It's only if there's a hairline crack and that's gotten in there that's a bad egg. But I've never had one, just FYI. But if you smell something funky, better safe than sorry, dump it out and get another egg. Okay, what's next? How much? Quarter ounce of mezcal. Okay, what's next?
1 ounce and a quarter of Blanco.
An ounce and a quarter of Blanco. So there's an ounce and there's a quarter. Oops. Okay. Oops. And what else? That's it, right?
With the spring.
All right, so we're going to take our tongs. We're going to have this, always going to have a loose coil hanging around. You don't have to be taking it off and on every single time. You'll have a couple loose coils around. Just drop it in the tin, put this on top, and you're going to do a dry shake. And I'm smiling. Shake it, don't fake it, and smile. And I'm whipping it into a nice meringue. What's my glassware on this? Grab a rocks glass. Now, another thing you should know, egg whites expand in the tin. So if you're holding it upside down, it'll start leaking down here. Already this is going to pop out. I don't even have to separate it because it just pops right out. So now we're whipping this nice meringue. I'm going to reach in there. Oh, I can leave that in there for now, but that's fine. I'm going to add my ice to it. Shake it, don't fake it, and smile. Separate my tin. And I'm going to taste for balance. Straws. I need lots of straws. I need those over here. Sometimes it's just good the way it is, but I want you to guys be critical. I can always make it better, but this is actually pretty good. So I'm gonna leave this one the way it is, and I don't normally do that. I'm always tweaking it a little bit. That's pretty good. I want you guys to taste this one. Pull out my straw, my coil, leave that there. And now here's the important thing. I'd add my adjustment and I would tumble roll once. Very important. As I'm talking to you right now, those egg whites are setting up in the tin, just like a Guinness stacking. So if I went and go ahead and poured this right now, all those egg whites would be on top of the liquid. And as I went to pour it, the liquid would slip out and all the egg whites would stay on top of the ice inside the tin. So it's really important after I make my adjustment that I do one tumble roll. Back and forth one time, and immediately, without double straining, pour that all the way to the very top. Now I talked about no over pouring, but in this case, I have the egg whites in there. It's going to separate and it's going to give it this beautiful, creamy, frothy texture. And it's setting up in there. Right now it's very thin. In about 10 seconds or 20, 30 seconds, it'll be a nice crema. What's my garnish on this? One lime wedge. What I like to do, guys, when I cut my limes, most bartenders cut it right down the middle. I like to do what's called the turtle back. I go to 1/3 and I cut to the center. It is not a curved cut, but rather it's a straight angled cut, not a curved cut. So I just start at 1/3 and I cut it right to the center like that. And I have those all prepped in advance, obviously, so I can just pick it up like this and stick it right on the glass. So it's called a turtle back presentation. Now you can see it's starting to set up in the glass. Put my cocktail napkin down. The first thing I do when I greet the guests is put the cocktail napkin down, right? If I do that, that lets every other bartender know that that guest has been greeted and that that order has been taken from them. So do that. Oh, also I guess this has straws in it, sorry. So I would grab 2 straws, stick it in there like that. And then I would present it and say, "You are smoking Tommy gun." Was there a rim on that? No, there isn't. One thing that's actually fun to do if you want to emphasize the smoking on that, you can actually take a little chipotle chili powder and sugar and make a mixture of it, about 1 part chipotle chili powder, 4 parts sugar, and you can do a half rim instead of salt, like a sugar chipotle rim, and that's smoky and delicious. But it's not necessary. In the meanwhile, that can be your house margarita right there. It's a little smoky and it's really delicious. Give it a try.